Hey everybody, welcome back to Gideon Stuff and welcome to another Gideon Stuff adventure. This one is a fun one because we're hiking to a state high point. Been doing a lot of those videos recently. And today we're going to the place where everything is bigger. Or is it? Texas, Guadalupe Peak. I really need to get like a set put together for when I'm filming these kind of videos, get better lighting for when I'm filming late at night, as I am right now. I just gotta get my new apartment. I say new, I've been here for like 3 months at this point, but I need to get, I don't know, like decorations. I need to get something set up here, right? Guadalupe Peak is the highest point on the Guadalupe Mountains and the highest point in the state of Texas at 8,751 feet above sea level. Now, that's not, a super impressive number for a mountain's elevation. I think Texas has the 12th or 14th highest state high point. All the stats and corrections to flubs that I have will be on the screen as I speak. But yeah, sometimes on paper that might not seem like a whole lot. 8,751 feet. What? The house that I grew up in, the house I spent my teenage years in, was about at that elevation. And we were in the valley, right? I grew up on the Taos Plateau, and so to my east were the Sangre de Cristo Mountains, soaring above 13,000 feet. And to my west were the Tusas Mountains, the San Juans. They would get up to over 11,000 feet. And so my house sat at about 8,600 feet in elevation. That's almost the top of Guadalupe Peak. But elevation is the dumbest way to measure a mountain's worth, in my opinion. I hate elevation as a measurement. It doesn't really tell you much about the mountain's personality per se. And I've talked about this before in the past, but I think there's a lot of other things or a lot of other ways to measure a mountain to illustrate what kind of a mountain it is. One of my favorite measurements is prominence. This is how high a mountain is above the next highest point close to it. Topographic relief is a really, really cool way to measure a mountain. This is how high the mountain stands above the surrounding terrain, right? This is basically a measurement of the mountain from base to top. How tall is the mountain itself, not how high is it above sea level. And a great example that I like to use about why elevation isn't really that much, it isn't really a great measurement, is height. My driver's license says I'm 5'10", but I actually think I'm 5'9". I don't know. I don't actually know how tall I am. Maybe I should fix that. Last time I was at the doctor for a checkup, they told me, and I completely forgot. Anyways, I'm 5'9" or 5'10", whatever. I am not a tall man. I've got a buddy who is 6'4". Who's taller? Obviously my buddy, who is 6'4". But what if I get on a 2-foot tall step stool? Well, all of a sudden, am I taller than him? No, I might be higher than him, but I'm not taller than him. And that is why elevation can be a little bit misleading. I know this guy who's getting into peak bagging, and me and him and another friend were having dinner, and we're all talking about, climbing different peaks. And this was around the time that I had just climbed Cook's Peak here in southern New Mexico, which is still one of my favorite mountain climbs that I've ever done. It was beautiful. I've got a whole video about it. You should go check it out. It's an older video, not one of my best, but it's still fun and worth a watch. And we're talking about this mountain. And Cook's Peak is 8,600, 8,700, something like that. I can't remember exactly what the elevation is on Cook's Peak. And we were talking about that, and I was saying, how much I enjoyed this mountain climb. And this new friend who's getting into it, he's like, I said, I highly recommend this. He said, no, not interested. I was like, what? He says, I'm not doing anything below 10,000 feet. I was like, my goodness, my guy, you are like completely ignoring some absolutely amazing mountains that you could be climbing. He says, well, I'm not interested in doing, baby mountains. And I had to explain to him, like, my guy, just because a mountain's elevation is lower than another's doesn't mean that it's less of a mountain, right? Um, for example, I like to talk about the highest mountain in the UK. Ben Nevis, I believe is how it's pronounced. It's in Scotland, and it's at an elevation of like 4,000 something feet. I know, I'm sorry, Brits. You want the meters, the meter measurements. Let's see, what is 4,000 feet in meters? Let's see here. 20,000 feet is 8,000 meters. 4,000 meters. Albert is 4,000 plus meters. Divide that in. Let's see, divide with your feet, you divide it by 3.2 and 3.28 something. So let's just go with 4,000. So we'll say, like, I don't know, 1,200 meters, something like that. Whatever. Anyways, on paper, that's not very high, right? Right now, sitting in my house in southern New Mexico, I'm at about 4,000 feet. And again, I am in a valley. But if you were to pluck Ben Nevis up and take it out to the Taos Plateau and drop it down there, already you're adding 8,000 plus feet to its total elevation, just because it's starting at a higher point, right? And so this is why I think elevation is kind of the lamest way to measure a mountain. And the first time I saw Guadalupe Peak, I was walking on the Tejas Trail, coming down, and like, well, that wasn't the first time I saw it, but the most memorable time I saw it. And the sun was kind of setting, and it was just poof, right there in front of me. And it was one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. And I think Guadalupe Peak is an absolutely beautiful mountain, and I love the Guadalupe Mountains in general. They are an absolutely phenomenal mountain range. Now, I'm not going to talk too much about geology in this video because I am working on a video about the Permian Basin as a whole, and the Guadalupe Mountains are a very important part of that story. So I've got some footage from other parts in the mountain range, both in New Mexico and in West Texas, that I'll be compiling into a video on the Permian Basin. I'm working on making some videos about geologic provinces more than specific areas. Like I'm making a video about Permian Basin. I want to make a video about the Colorado Plateau. I am currently editing a video about the Grand Canyon, which is part of the Colorado Plateau, but so we're going to save a lot of the geology for that video, and I'm not sure when that'll be coming out, but it'll be coming out at some point. That one's going to be more, an educational documentary style. But the Guadalupe Mountains are comprised primarily of Paleozoic marine sediments, specifically reef sediments. The Capitan Reef is the largest, best preserved, most studied Paleozoic reef on the planet. It is so awesome. It dates to the Permian period. And in fact, the Guadalupe Mountains give their name to the Guadalupian stage of the Permian, which lasted from about 275 million years ago to about 260 million years ago, or something like that. Really awesome geology out there. The Permian Basin is amazing, but we're going to save that for another video. The Guadalupe Mountains themselves are one of my favorite mountain ranges ever. And I think they are one of the coolest mountain ranges in North America. I say that with no exaggeration at all. I know. I am biased towards the Southwest. I love the Southwest. The Guadalupe Mountains, definitely one of the most interesting and intriguing and fascinating mountain ranges of the American Southwest. But I would also say that the Guadalupes are one of the more interesting mountain ranges in the entire continent. And if you want proof of that, this tiny mountain range that stretches from southeastern New Mexico into West Texas has 2 national parks: Guadalupe Mountains National Park and Carlsbad Caverns. And I've made a video about Carlsbad Caverns. You can go and check that out. It's also going to be kind of a prelude to my Permian Basin video that I'm working on. Also could be considered a companion piece to this video, but amazing mountain range, and stunningly beautiful. I love the Southwest. I love the Chihuahuan Desert. I love this part of the country, but the Guadalupe Mountains stand out even from some of my other favorite places in the Chihuahuan Desert. They are truly something special and spectacular. Another great video to watch with this one would be my video on Hunter Peak, which is another mountain within Guadalupe Mountains National Park. And in that video, I actually tell the story of the history of the national park. So if you're interested in that, definitely go check that video out. The cinematography is not great, but the story is fascinating. I would highly, highly recommend it. Guadalupe Mountains National Park, in my opinion, is one of the most underrated national parks. And I think part of the reason is because a lot of people don't realize or don't appreciate why it's so special. I think one of the reasons why I enjoy it so much is because of the geology, is because of there's just a fascinating science behind this area. But if you don't really appreciate that, if you're not into that, you're missing a huge part of what the park is about. It is stunningly beautiful, but it is kind of a difficult park to enjoy unless you are, kind of an upper level adventurer. Some of my favorite trails, like the Tejas Trail, Bear Canyon, these big looping trails, they can be quite arduous, and they are not for beginners, right? And especially if you're someone that's not used to the Southwest, if you're not someone who is used to hiking in extreme heat, if you're not someone who's used to rapidly changing elevation, and that is a big problem. At parks like this is, like, when you're climbing Guadalupe Peak, you are changing elevation. You're gaining like 3,000 feet, and you're doing that, depending on when you decide to hike, in like 100-degree weather. It can be very unpleasant if that's not something you're trained for, if that's not something you are used to. And so I think a lot of the awesomeness about this park is lost on some people because they don't have the opportunity to explore maybe as much of it as like a park like Arches, which is super, super tourist friendly. You can do more advanced hikes out at Arches, but like Arches, you can drive around and walk short distances to see all these arches, and it's very fun and stuff. Guadalupe Mountains, it is a little more advanced. But it is one of my favorite national parks. It is one of the national parks I have visited the most. Yes, probably because it's just 2 hours away from where I live, but also because I really, really do enjoy it, and there's a lot at the park that I have yet to see that I will hopefully see sometime. So this is a really, really exciting video for me, and I'm going to go ahead and shut up, and we're going to climb the damn mountain. Let's do it. Well, here we are on the Guadalupe Peak Trail, heading to the highest point in Texas. This is going to be an 8.4 mile hike both ways, about 3,000 feet of gain, I believe. Shouldn't be very difficult, especially because we're just coming off of a hike that was 12 miles with 9,000 feet of gain, so it should be a walk in the park. Speaking of the park, Guadalupe Mountains National Park, super underrated. This, of course, is not Guadalupe Peak here. This is a sub-rise separating us from the peak. There's Hunter's Peak. got a video about us climbing that. It's a pretty good one, worth checking out. I guess this is a good time to mention that these white and gray cliffs we're walking through are ocean sediments. In fact, the Guadalupe Mountains preserve one of the, well, they house one of the most finely preserved Paleozoic reef systems in the world. And of course, we'll be talking more about that at other points in the video. Boo. I've seen fossils on the way up, but I didn't stop to look at any of them till now. It's like we got a big coral or a crinoid. There's a crinoid. Got a bunch of stuff jumbled up in this biomicrite. It's a word. And there is a gastropod or a snail.
He has gastrointestinal disease.
Aw, you smile so sweetly. I'm gonna push you down this mountain. Leave a like if you want me to leave her on top of the mountain one of these days. Not the kind of scenery you typically expect to see in West Texas. Grasses, a bunch of different shrubs and flowers, ponderosa pine. Reminds me a lot of where I grew up in northern New Mexico, foothills of the Rockies, because we basically are in the foothills of the Rockies. At about 8,000 feet, that's where the Rockies start, but it's the top of Texas here. Bridge. Oh, this is stunning. Absolutely stunning. It's Whorehound. Right there's Hunter's Peak. Honestly, if you want a more challenging climb that's a little more solitude, Hunter's Peak is awesome. This climb's not bad at all. I'd say pace yourself in the first 2 miles, and you can make a lot of ground in the middle section of the climb. She did this once in 4 hours, because she's insane. How's that foot holding up? You want to do a shoe swap? I bet I'd fit in your shoes. Gorgeous, huh? Calcite.
quick PSA, there's a reason the Park Service tells you to stay on the designated trails. When you make little shortcuts, you see there's a trail right there, we're on a switchback. When you make little shortcuts and social trails, what actually happens is you create a water runoff. And look at how this is eroding away the trail that used to be nice and wide and beautiful, and right here is so thin and stupid. Don't do this shit. Well guys, we're back. Not counting time spent messing around at the top, it took us 4.5 hours to do that 8.7 miles, whatever it is. So, not too bad. I think we could have done it faster. Honestly, I think we could have done it in like 3:45. But Janelle had a little bit of a issue with her shoe. And she's in the bathroom right now, that's why she's not here. But great hike. So beautiful out here. The Guadalupes hold a very special place in my heart. I'm a sucker for desert mountains, but I would put these at the same level, if not above, the views that you get out in like the Rocky Mountains, like we were seeing when I climbed Elbert. I just love the cliffs that you walk along. I just love the steep drop-offs and the twisting canyons. It's beautiful. And the plant life is so much more diverse and it's so colorful. I love the Guadalupes, and this is definitely a peak that I highly recommend.
And there you have it, guys. Guadalupe Peak in the pocket. It's been bagged. This is a great trail. This is a trail that I've done several times. You know, this is a really fun state high point. Again, like my recommendation for this trail is do it in the winter time. You know, save yourself a little bit on the heat. Make sure you bring plenty of water. Make sure you are prepared for heat, even in the summer. You protect yourself from sunburn, protect yourself from heat stroke. The first 2 miles of the trail are definitely the hardest. That is where you climb the steepest, and you are going to be exposed to the sun. Like, even if you start, you know, pretty early in the morning, unless you finish the first 2 miles before the sun rises, you're going to be baked by the sun because the rising sun is going to be pointed directly at you. And I mean, you can do it in the dark if you really want to. Just be careful not to slip and trip and tumble to your end. But I do recommend this hike. Take it slow, right? This is a manageable hike. It can be rough, it can be arduous, but make sure you've got enough water. Make sure you've got some snacks, and just go at your own pace. Take a break when you need to, and just take it easy. That's one of my biggest tips for anyone who wants to get into hiking is rest. When you feel like you need to rest, okay? There's nothing wrong with that. You know, it's good to like push through the pain and stuff, you know, and keep going. And, you know, as you get better at hiking, you'll be able to gauge more when you can do that. But when you need to rest, take a rest, okay? That will help you with heat exhaustion, heat stroke symptoms. That'll help you with muscle cramps. You know, take a time during your rest to hydrate. Just taking a good little rest will help you to avoid a lot of the unpleasantness that you could encounter on a mountain climb. The trail itself is beautiful for the most part, very well maintained. Another big tip I have is, and this is something that took me a long time to figure out, is sometimes when you feel like you're thirsty, you're actually just out of breath. I don't know why, but I know I used to do this, and I've seen other people do it, where you'll be walking and be like, and you take a drink of water, and you didn't actually need water. You just needed to stop and catch your breath. And this is a mistake that I made very early on, because then you take a drink of water, and all of a sudden you feel kind of worse because you didn't need a drink of water. It's like sloshing around in you now. And if you took a drink while you're walking, you know, now you're all gasping, like, you know, just if you're about to take a drink of water, think to yourself like, okay, am I thirsty, or do I need to just catch my breath? Catch your breath and then take a drink of water. But yeah, definitely a beautiful hike. I recommend it. You know, Texas is not necessarily well known for its mountains, but the Guadalupes are a fantastic mountain range, and I love them quite a bit. So, yeah. Thank you guys for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, leave a like, comment below, and subscribe. Big shout out to my channel members here at the Cowboy level. I really appreciate everything you do for the channel. If you want to become a member and support me directly, there's a link down below. As for the rest of you hooligans, I've been Gideon, and I'll see you in the next one. Adios.